he said, look, we were on the moon. I was running the RCA cameras. And there's a lot more going on that you don't know about. And he said it's all highly compartmentalized. And he said he wasn't even sure about this at the time, but other NASA people told him this. So this is a guy running cameras on the moon. Okay, Raymond Teague ran the cameras on the moon for RCA, period. Okay, yes, we went to the moon.
All right, went to the moon, but the pictures aren't all real?
Those big, lavish, beautiful color photos with, with the distance hash marks that are behind rocks or behind things and flags that are waving.
Well, they've plenty of explanations about those, but we won't even go into it.
Well, I'm just telling you.
I know.
That was, listen, you cannot, even in the little thin lead shielding cases they had, go through the Van Allen radiation belt. I mean, you know what happens whenever they... in Skylab or the International Space Station, when a solar storm comes up, when there's a electromagnetic release in one of those Coriolis flares, they have to get behind the water tanks.
Yeah, they turn the...
And it's still very dangerous, and it shows it's really hurting the astronauts. Just like airline pilots have a lot of health problems because they're at 35,000 feet, 33,000 feet, and there's about 10 feet of water if you condensed it down between... ground level, sea level, and 30,000 feet. And so much of the shielding that is there from the water that's in the atmosphere isn't there at 30,000 feet and above. And so it's also frying the airline pilots.
How are Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins, and Neil Armstrong still alive then if it was a very bad dose of radiation?
Well, I mean, they're very good genetic specimens. They did swing around, and they did time their moon shots 4 times when the sun was not very active. I mean, we didn't have any Coriolis storms in the last 3 years, and suddenly they're back with a vengeance. I mean, there haven't been any sunspots, and that's a Coriolis flare ejection in 3 years. I mean,
now, how are there pictures now from the shuttle and the space station?
They're digital. They're on hard drives. They're on digital chips. They're not film. They're not 35 and 70 millimeter.
Okay.
I mean, look, I'm telling you what Raymond Teague at NASA said.
Okay.
What about Watergate, you said, Ant?
Yeah,
okay, Watergate was a setup. Nixon had been used, but he was acting as the president. He'd made deals with China. He'd gone along basically with everything the globalists wanted, but he was doing a few things they didn't like, and they wanted to move their agenda on, so they wanted to damage the office of the presidency. They'd already they'd already physically assassinated JFK. Now they wanted to politically assassinate and weaken the image of the presidency to further the power of the bureaucracy and the strong men that are around the president. That's why they only get people who are compromised, like George W. Bush or Barack Obama now, who have all these skeletons in their closet. And so that's why he was set up from within, and the plumbers were basically set up from within. That's the word I've gotten from a lot of good sources and what the evidence shows. We know there's deep throat inside the White House.
Yeah, well, that was...
It was Alexander Haig and a composite of Alexander Haig and, of course, Herr Kissinger.
But Herr Kissinger. But you think Nixon was... or what you're saying is Nixon was just kind of a setup there? He was... he wasn't as involved as they said in the end? No,
Nixon, it's on the tapes. I mean, Nixon was in there, and that, talk about digging a hole for your enemies and you fall into it. Or setting a trap for your enemies and you get caught by it. He was recording everybody, and there it is on the tapes going, Bohemian Grove, north of San Francisco, most goddamn faggy thing you've ever seen. They're in there, orgies. I mean, the rituals. And of course, Helmut Schmidt, German chancellor, wrote about that as well. Oh, I love the satanic rituals we do in Germany, but I love the ones at the Grove. I enjoy it.
What was the reason? What was the reason for getting Nixon out?
It was about damaging. They were done with him. It was about a sacrifice.
But he had what? He had what? 2 years left?
It was about damaging the image of the presidency.
Oh, okay.
It was about lowering morale.
For what purpose?
To demoralize people. They'd had problems with presidents trying to be presidents. And so it's about making them be these, kept creatures. I mean, let's go back 3,000 years ago to the Qin, what China is named after today. And they would come to the elites, the king and the queen. These would be the grandchildren. These would be the grandchildren. Well, to understand what's happening currently, you got to understand the past. The grandchildren of the war chief who'd unified China, who'd actually been tough and intelligent. The grandchildren were little spoiled brats. And so the king's court, the wise men would come and say, Emperor, you need to grow your fingernails out to about 2 feet long. You're too godlike to feed yourself, and we must have a groom with a stool. Of course, the British royals have their butts wiped as well. And so it's all about controlling them. And, we must bind your feet. You must be carried. You're not allowed to touch the ground. And actually what it does is it makes them these kept creatures who are controlled by the power behind the throne. And so this was a similar 20th century or 21st century model of what the Aztecs did to their ruling elite to turn them into kept creatures, and what the British did. I mean, you know about Groom of the Stool, right? I mean, the Queen of England has her butt wiped, right?
I didn't know that still went on. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they officially got rid of it about 90 years ago. But no, they still have a toilet attendant. It's normally a high-level government official.
Oh, see that?
And of course, George W. had a Groom of the Stool, where they have a special toilet and then they examine his feces.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, that's just something for your show. I know that's something you're listening
now,
to.
Is that? I've heard that. Is that to see?
No, that's Associated Press. I mean, no.
No. I mean, I've heard that. Is the purpose of that?
Droppings have always been examined.
Is the purpose of that to see if he's sick or to see food allergies or any of that stuff to see where his health is?
Yes, and his crap is also national security. I mean, for the last 50 years, they've had a special toilet, but they just admitted it under Bush to humiliate him further. But yes, they claim that foreign governments might get in the sewers to get his poop to find out what he is, what drugs he's using. He was a well-known drug addict.
Hey, Alex, to bring it to current times here, the oil spill. Is there any conspiracy there that's starting to...
The entire thing is 100% a staged event from pillar to post. I could give you the breakdown of that if you'd like.
Give us some basic.
This is keeping Obama kept, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this is how they're grooming his stool.
What do you got? What do you got on the oil spill? Just the basic facts.
Well, hey, you guys, if you get powerful enough, maybe you can have a groom of the stool, huh?
Yeah,
of that.
I've paid to be one.
That's true.
You'd like to groom the Queen Elizabeth?
No, not after 1958 when she started to get a little fucking long in the tooth.
Well,
when she was young and fixing automobiles, I would have eaten her ass, sure.
I mean, you notice that.
Yes, Alex.
Hey, you notice that she is Queen Elizabeth II.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Number 2.
See, one of them Roman as the Romans, huh? Talk about some poop with you guys.
All right, listen, Alex. This
will be a YouTube classic. No, seriously.
The oil spill. Let's go.
All right. Let me get out of this mode for a moment and get serious. Hold on one second. In fact, you guys talk for a second. Let me actually pull up those files in my mind. Go on.
Oh, is that what he has to do?
No, he's Googling something.
File. He's Googling something.
He's Googling something.
Okay, here we go. Would you like me to go over the information?
Yes, please, Alex.
Okay, let's set the stage here with what's happening with the oil spill. Mm-hmm. Let's go back to the week before. The CEO of British Petroleum, he'd just been replaced. The former chairman and CEO had been the chairman of Goldman Sachs, simultaneously the most powerful shareholder in the worldwide private central bank cartel. Always at the scene. Speak of the devil, he shall appear. The CEO of Goldman Sachs, they dumped 44% the week before the oil spill. Mm-hmm. You have the CEO of BP separately dumping over a third of his. This is all mainstream news. Mm-hmm. You have Vanguard that holds the majority of Barack Obama's millions in mutual fund money. That was fully dumped the week before. Fully dumped. Talk about insider trading. And they weren't dumping specifically. Other big central banks are on record now dumping their stock, not of other oil companies, but of BP specifically.
Again, isn't this very obvious?
Yeah. It goes back to that obvious question. Why not do it way before the actual
Because they
event?
don't care. Their religion is about doing it right out in front of you. Now, but That's how they acclimate your subconscious mind. They know your subconscious mind is thousands of times more powerful than your conscious mind. In your subconscious right now, you know the truth. In your gut, you know the truth. You know things aren't right in the world. You know you're being lied to. You know things are getting worse. So yes, but as long as your subconscious can be told something and in plain view, it feels comfortable as if it's in power. And so there isn't anxiety in knowing. That's probably why they let me do what I do. They think little of you. I think more of you. And they think this is just going to acclimate you and is known as revelation of the method. But let me continue to run through this.
Why make trouble for themselves by allowing you to do it? There's so easy ways to stop you from saying what you say. Again, freedom of information. All these little things they could do to make their lives astronomically eager.